Hey everyone, welcome back to our video series all about dynamic pages in the Without Code builder. Right now I'm in our builder working with our Heights real estate template, and we're going to create a new dynamic page to work with to showcase all of our individual real estate listings. Let's click into our Pages tab, and I'm going to jump to my single property page. So what we have here is a template that we've created, which will serve as the blueprint for each and every listing page that will be created from the info in our dataset. Now keep in mind, when you make a page dynamic, the page will no longer be an actual living page that you can navigate to on the published site, but rather a template for all of the pages that will be created based on the info in your spreadsheets. If you have any experience with blogging in the Without Code builder, this is a similar concept to that of design mode in blogging, where you're designing the structure and appearance of a blueprint that's used for limitless blog posts or page creations in this case. So with that being said, here on the page you can see some temporary text representing the various pieces of content that will eventually be filled, such as our listing title, listing address, as well as price over here on the right. Now beneath this we have a photo gallery to house all of the photos of each individual listing. Beneath that we have some more room for more extended text to serve as an overview of the listing, and then some agent information, the agent's name, photo, and contact info corresponding to each listing. Now lastly here on the page, much like you'd expect from a design in a blog's layout mode, we have a generic call to action here at the bottom that will be standard on each page. And any change you make here will automatically flood throughout all pages created from this dynamic page. So now that we have an initial lay of the land, let's get started with converting this into a dynamic page. And before we can do that, we have to create something called a collection. Now a collection is something created right here in the Without Code web builder that basically serves as an internal database of information. Now the idea here is to connect our outside source of information into a collection here in the builder. And then from there, that collection can be used in any way we want on our dynamic page. So let me show you. I'm going to jump over to a spreadsheet that we've created here on Airtable. Now, as I mentioned earlier, collections and dynamic pages can also be set up with Google Sheets or any database that contains your spreadsheet of information for use in the site. I'm just using Airtable as an example here, but it does have some cool additional features. Most notably, the ability to add galleries of multiple images in a single cell, which in the case of our property listings page is important to have. Now, as you can see, we have a spreadsheet here with 8 property listings, all of which have different titles, addresses, descriptions, etc. And using our dynamic page template, we can easily create 8 unique listing pages instantly. The Without Code builder has a specific way of generating the dynamic pages. It will look at each row as a separate page. Now this applies to any data source, Airtable, Google Sheets, etc. So it's a good idea to have this in mind when you're building your data sets. Each row represents a separate dynamic page. So let's look at our first row for our modern luxury townhouse. Here we can see all the specifics of the listing, all of which will be used to create this listing's unique page. So scrolling to the right here, we can see all of the attributes of a single property listing, from the description to the listing agent information. Continue to scroll to the right and we can see a cell titled Gallery, which as you can see has multiple images embedded, which is what's going to allow us a full gallery of images on the dynamic page. And this is a really handy feature, like I mentioned, that's unique to Airtable. You can drag and drop images into a single cell on this platform, which is pretty cool. Another neat thing with Airtable is that you can utilize some very clever view modes that let you view a row and other visual layouts. So for example, let me click to expand this first line item, our modern luxury townhouse. And this view places all of the row elements into a layout that feels a lot more like a page. So if this mode feels more natural to you, feel free to build your rows out in this expanded mode. Now let me close out of this for now and jump back to Without Code. Our very first step here is to create a collection using this spreadsheet of listings. So I'm going to click over here to our Content tab, and we'll click on Collections. Now here we can see a few collections that have already been added to this website, which just goes to show that you are in no way limited with your use of dynamic pages. The possibilities are endless. But for this demo, let's create one from scratch and select a new collection. Next, we're presented with a few options to select the source of our dataset. Most popular selections here will likely be Google Sheets and Airtable, but as I said, you do have the ability to connect your own external database here as well. So let's select Airtable.
Hey there, Norman here, jumping in real quick with a small update to this portion of the video. Airtable has changed its authentication methods for adding security since this video was originally filmed, and they now use personal tokens instead of API keys. To create an Airtable collection using a personal token, first we'll select Airtable as usual, and then we'll be taken to this Connect with Airtable screen. From here, we can simply click this Airtable account page button, and this will take us to this screen right here, which, as you can see, it is mentioning that the API keys will be deprecated by the end of January 2024. We can simply click Go to Developer Hub. And then from this screen, we can simply click Create Token. And from here, we can proceed to create our token. Now, in the future, if you need to access this and that button is not available, alternatively, you can access and create tokens by making sure you're logged into Airtable and going directly to airtable.com/create/tokens. So now that we're on the personal access token page, we can click the blue Create Token button. From here, we have a number of options. We'll start from the top. We want to give this a name. You can name this whatever you'd like. For this example, I will name this Tutorial Token. Following that, we'll have our scopes option, which just basically means we'll set the permissions of the token. We can click Add a Scope, and we'll want to make sure that we select Read and Write. So data.records_read, data.records_write. Below that, we have our access permissions. This is where you can set which Airtable bases this token can access. You can pick a specific base, however, for the sake of simplicity and unless otherwise specifically needed, we can select the all current and future bases for this workspaces option. And now we can click Create Token. Your token will be created and shown in the pop-up, and we can copy that token and head back into the builder and paste that right into the access token field. Now that we have our access token added, we can then grab the example URL for our Airtable base. To do this, we'll simply click the Airtable API page button up above. This will bring you to a list of your Airtable bases. And from here, you simply click on the base that you want to use in your collection. On the left-hand side, click Authentication, and then we can simply copy our example URL here on the right-hand side, jump back into the builder, and paste our example URL in the example URL field. If you wish to maintain the same structure and order of rows as they are in the Airtable, then there is one difference. Instead of using the current example URL, we will instead head back over into the previous tab. We'll click Grid View Table, click List Records, and from here we can click this API URL encoder tool. From here we can scroll all the way down to the bottom and locate the View field. Now what you want to enter into this field is exactly what the view is named on your Airtable. So if we click this View button here, we can see that ours is named by default Grid Space View with a capital G. So we can head back over into the encoder tool. We can type Grid Space View with the capital G. It will spit out a new URL on the bottom. We can copy that and we can come back over into the builder and paste that right there. And now we can simply click Import Fields, and it will import that information directly into your collection. And that's how you connect your Airtable to the Airtable collection using the personal token. And now back to the originally scheduled programming.
Awesome. So what's happened here is Without Code has imported all of the field names into our collection. So if I switch back to my listings sheet really quick, at the top here we have all of the fields labeled with the type of information that the column holds, like the listing title, address, description, etc. If I scroll to the right, like we saw earlier, we can see it's a dense sheet with a lot of information about each listing: square footage, bathrooms, bedrooms, price, all kinds of stuff. Now back in the builder, we can see them all listed throughout here on the right. It's our job now to tell Without Code what these fields are exactly, and that's what this left column is for. So for the builder to implement the data into the various widgets and elements on our dynamic page, it needs to know exactly what kind of content it is. So let me drop down this first one. The field name is short description. So from our drop down here, we need to tell the builder if this is a piece of regular text, an image, a link, a video, a phone number, etc., so that it accurately implements it into the dynamic page. In this case, our short description field is simply text. For agent, that's the agent's name, so again, text will suffice. For address, we can select location. Square footage is text again. For main image, we can select image. Description stays as text. Page item URL. Now for this, we're going to select text, and I'll explain this more in another video in this series, but this isn't a clickable link. It's only how the URL is labeled for the page, so that can stay as text. Bathrooms is just a number, so that stays as text. Agent bio is also text. The next link, we can select link. Agent link text, this is just the text for the button, so we'll leave it set as text. Bedrooms, listing title, and square footage all stay as text. For phone number, we'll select phone. Price is text. Previous link is a link. Button text and asking price are both text. Now gallery is a bit different, and since we're working with several images at once, this will be added as an inner collection. And in the new field here that's created, we'll assign this to image. And this will make sense when we link it up to the page. And finally, agent image is also an image. Lastly, I'm going to go to the very top here and rename this collection, and we'll stick with Ashton's listings. Great. Now let's click done. Beautiful. We're almost there. Now keep watching to the next video where we're going to complete this integration by linking our collection to our dynamic page. See you soon.